Now, very important point, the topic that we are going to take today is Sikkim's Statehood Day. Why? Because Sikkim celebrated its 40th, okay, Statehood Day. ठीक है? It was only in 1975 that Sikkim became a full Indian state. Now, let's look at the history of Sikkim. In 1642, Sikkim came under the rule of Chogyals of Namgyal dynasty. Chogyal means king. ठीक है? तो Namgyal dynasty was a dynasty of Tibetans. Okay, Tibetans. In 1642, Sikkim came under the governance of the kings of Namgyal dynasty. फिर 1816, ठीक है, it was operated very smoothly. In 1816, what happened was there was a battle between the British and the Gorkhas of Nepal basically. In that battle, the Nepalis were defeated and Sikkim fought from the side of East India Company. After that battle, Treaty of Sugauli was concluded, and the Treaty of Sugauli is very important. Why? Because the recent skirmishes between India and Nepal relating to the western boundary of Nepal, which is the Kali River. Okay. So in 1816, the Treaty of Sugauli was signed, and the areas that were occupied by the Gorkhas of the Nepal were returned back to Sikkim. ठीक है, पहले तो ये हो गया. एंड वेस्टर्न बाउंड्री पे क्या हुआ? और वन इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट अबाउट द Treaty of Sugauli was that the Gorkhas of Nepal renounced their claim on the lowland regions of Himalayan foothills, that is the Tarai region, the Lakhimpur Khiri area and all these areas in UP. इन पे जो claim था Gorkhas का, they renounced it completely. Okay, and the western boundary of Nepal, ठीक है, this is Nepal, right? The western boundary of Nepal was formed as Kali River. Okay, so there was a recent conflict on this Kali River on the western boundary. So we already have had a lecture on that. You can look into the playlist, right? फिर 1861 Sikkim became the protectorate of British India. Protectorate means that its foreign relations, ठीक है, its foreign relations will be conducted by British India, ठीक है, by British, but they will not look into the domestic matters of the country. That is called protectorate. ठीक है, it is different from subsidiary alliance, but still somewhat kind of that, somewhat similar. फिर 1890 का Calcutta Convention. This is a very important point in the history of the Sikkim and Bhutan, ठीक है, and British India and Nepal and Tibet, ठीक है. Why? In 1890, a treaty between Tibet, okay, Tibet versus British. A treaty between Tibet versus the British was established in the Calcutta in 1890, and boundaries were drawn for British India and Tibet. ठीक है. There was a recent conflict between India and China for the Doklam Plateau, ठीक है, and that happened because China claims 1890's Calcutta Convention to be the right thing, whereas India claims McMahon line, ठीक है, McMahon line to be the right boundary. ठीक है. तो दोनों के जो बाउंड्री का इंटरप्रिटेशन है उसमें डिफरेंस होने की वजह से देयर वाज अ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, एंड ऑफ कोर्स चाइना का जो इंपीरियल अग्रेशन है दैट इज मूविंग टुवर्ड्स इंडिया. ठीक है. तो इंडिया what India did was India fought for Bhutan basically. Okay. So this is after the Treaty of Sugauli. Treaty of Sugauli, okay. This was the western border of Nepal. ठीक है, Kumaon Garhwal was, they were all, these regions were given to India, British India, and this was actually Empire of Gorkhas, and they relinquished their claim on this lowland. Okay, they relinquished their claim on this lowland. This is Tarai region. ठीक है, Tarai region. And secondly, the areas like Darjeeling, ठीक है, Darjeeling and all, these were given back to Sikkim. Okay. However, in 1841, Darjeeling was purchased by British from Sikkim, ठीक है, to establish their tea gardens and tea estates. Okay. Fine. In 1950, after the independence, treaty between India and Sikkim was signed. A treaty between India and Sikkim was signed, under which Sikkim accepted Sikkim was still under the rulership of the Chogyals, the Chogyal of the Namgyal dynasty. Chogyal means kings. Okay. In 1950, a treaty between India and Sikkim was concluded, and Sikkim continued its protectorate status. Okay. Sikkim continued its protectorate status. That means now independent India and Sikkim, a treaty was concluded where Sikkim will continue as its protectorate of India, right? In 1973, now what happened was, throughout the world, democracy was expanding, okay, and the movement for rights or basic rights of the people was already going on. What happened was, in 1973, large-scale protests against Chogyals took place, okay, and Indian government sent troops to quell the protest, and then what Indian government did was, basically there was a government of Sikkim as well, okay, government of Sikkim. The Assembly of Sikkim, ठीक है, जैसे इंडिया का पार्लियामेंट है, passed a resolution. The Assembly of Sikkim passed a resolution against the rule of Chogyals in the favor of Sikkim becoming a part of Indian state. Okay. उसके बाद क्या हुआ? In 1973, this protest happened and Indian troops were sent to Sikkim, and then Sikkim was made a part of India. A referendum was also held, and in that referendum, 97.5% of Sikkimis voted for the integration of Sikkim into India. ठीक है? In 1974 and 75, India enacted 35th and 36th, 36th Constitutional Amendment Acts, and Sikkim was given the full statehood in India itself. Now it is very peculiar to understand how a foreign territory, of course Sikkim was not Indian state, it was a foreign territory, it was another country in itself. How and what provisions of the parliament allow India to acquire some territory, and how, when a territory is acquired, how can it become a part of Indian Union? ठीक है, तो इसके लिए सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट 3-4 आर्टिकल्स हैं. आर्टिकल 1, ठीक है, आर्टिकल 1 says India, that is Bharat, ठीक है. Article 2 talks about the territories, okay, and the acquisition of territories, okay. Article 3 talks about states and boundaries, and as to how these states and boundaries can be altered. And Article 4 says that any amendments made under Article 2 and 3 will not be a constitutional amendment under Article 368. So these are the articles we are going to look into in deep and understand how and what is the procedure and how does the Indian constitution deal with acquisition of the territories. Okay, it is going to be very interesting. The constitutional issues. What India did was, India basically enacted two constitutional amendment acts. The 35th Constitutional Amendment Act, we are talking about Sikkim, the acquisition of Sikkim. The 35th Constitutional Amendment Act and 36th Constitutional Amendment Act. See, there was, okay, by the 35th Constitutional Amendment Act, India gave Sikkim the status of associate state. Okay, associate state. But there was no concept of associate state in the Constitution of India. So through 35th Constitutional Amendment Act, what they did was, they added section 2A, basically article 2A of the Constitution. What they did, article 2A of the Constitution. And article 2A said that Sikkim, okay, Sikkim shall be an associate state of India. And by this act, they also added 10th schedule. Okay? 10th schedule. 10th schedule talked about the roles and responsibilities of Indian state towards Sikkim. Okay. So what this 35th Constitutional Amendment Act did? It did two important things. It added article 2A. There was already article 2. Article 2 talked about what? Admission or establishment of new states. Article 2 talks about admission or establishment of new states. But these new states are not the states that are formed by varying the boundaries of existing states. But these new states are those states or those territories that Indian state occupies as a sovereign. ठीक है? That means अगर इंडिया किसी और कंट्री को अटैक करके या और किसी कंट्री से परचेज करके या और कंट्री से ट्रीटी करके या और कंट्री को डिसॉल्व करके इंडिया में अगर कोई नया स्टेट बनाता है तो उसका, बिकॉज इंडिया इज अ सॉवरेन कंट्री एंड ऑल दीज आर राइट्स ऑफ अ सॉवरेन, मतलब इट ऑल दीज आर डेफिनेट राइट्स ऑफ अ सॉवरेन, दे कैन डू इट. तो अब उसके लिए एक स्पेसिफिक आर्टिकल होना चाहिए. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन मेकर्स ने आर्टिकल 2 दिया हुआ है उसके लिए, एडमिशन और एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ न्यू स्टेट्स. ठीक है. तो पार्लियामेंट में बाय लॉ, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. इन द लास्ट लेक्चर ऑल्सो आई टॉक्ड अबाउट द फैक्ट कि व्हाट इज मेंट बाय पार्लियामेंट में बाय लॉ. पार्लियामेंट में बाय लॉ इंप्लाइज कि पार्लियामेंट में बाय पासिंग अ लेजिस्लेटिव एक्शन. ठीक है. दैट मीन्स एन एक्ट, बाय मेकिंग एन एक्ट. ठीक है. Parliament may by law admit into the union. Now very important, very important point here. What is union and what is territory? ठीक है. It's article 2 say that India Parliament may by law admit into the union of India. What is union of India? Union of India. ठीक है. तो यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया मीन्स यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट्स. ठीक है. ये सारे अगर स्टेट्स हैं तो ये है यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. ओके. सारे स्टेट्स का यूनियन. तो व्हाट अबाउट यूनियन टेरिटरीज? आर यूटीज अ पार्ट ऑफ यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया? नो. यूनियन टेरिटरीज आर नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. Union territories along with the states form the territory of India. What they form? The territory of India. Right? They form the territory of India. That means जो 29 states हैं, okay, plus any other territory that India acquires, okay, India acquires, ठीक है, दिस स्टेट पर प्लस एनी अदर टेरिटरी, ये पूरा मिला के टेरिटरी ऑफ इंडिया होगा. लेकिन यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया स्पेसिफिकली रिलेट्स टू द यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट्स. ठीक है, यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट्स मतलब दिल्ली इज नॉट अंडर द यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया, इट इज अंडर द टेरिटरी ऑफ इंडिया. ओके, अंडरस्टूड. तो अगेन, into the union or establish new states on such terms and condition as it thinks fit. As it thinks fit. मतलब Article 2 talks about the admission into and establishment of a new state, because when a foreign territory ठीक है, when a foreign territory is added to India, ठीक है, तो it can be governed by two ways. It can either become a union territory, मतलब the union government directly governs it, or it becomes a part of Union of India. That means it will become a state. That means it will have an independent state status like Sikkim. और अब देखो दोनों के एग्जांपल है. पुदुचेरी was also acquired, but it became a union territory. तो पुदुचेरी is not under the Union of India. It is under the territory of India. But Sikkim was acquired as a foreign territory, and it was later dissolved into the Union of India, basically the Union of States, right? तो हमारे पास दोनों के एग्जांपल है. Now Article 2. Article 3 talks about formation of new states. New state means अगर इंडिया की जो existing states हैं, सिक्किम तो अब existing state है, but at that time when Sikkim was added to India, it was not an existing state, so it will be primarily dealt with Article 2. Now Article 3 talks about formation of new states on or the alteration of areas, boundaries, names of existing states. तो new states are formed. मतलब अब प्रोसेस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, वो समझना, प्रोसेस समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आर्टिकल 2 के अंदर दे विल एडमिट, दे हैव द राइट टू एडमिट अ न्यू स्टेट. अब स्टेट फॉर्म होगा, अब एडमिट तो हो गया, लेकिन आर्टिकल 3 विल कम इनटू बीइंग, एंड आर्टिकल 3 विल इनेबल the parliament to make that specific territory as a state. ठीक है, alteration of existing states also. ठीक है, अब तो new states and existing states like Telangana was a new state formed by varying the boundaries of existing state. ठीक है, उसके रिगार्डिंग क्या लॉ है इंडिया में? The union of basically the parliament may by law again कैन फॉर्म न्यू स्टेट. ठीक है, ऑफ टेरिटरी फ्रॉम एनी स्टेट, मतलब कोई भी स्टेट की बाउंड्री वेरी करके एक नया स्टेट बना सकता है पार्लियामेंट. सेकेंडली, इट कैन आइदर इंक्रीज द एरिया ऑफ अ स्टेट, इट कैन डिक्रीज द एरिया ऑफ स्टेट, एंड इट कैन चेंज द नेम ऑफ द स्टेट. गिवन द फैक्ट कि द पार्लियामेंट एनी सच बिल शुड नॉट बी इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इनटू लोकसभा, ठीक है, और पार्लियामेंट विदाउट द रिकमेंडेशन ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट. एक इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट यही है. ओके, सेकेंड इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट ये है कि सच बिल नीड्स टू बी सेंट टू द असेंबली ऑफ दैट स्टेट हुज बाउंड्री और नेम इज बीइंग ऑल्टर्ड. ओके, फॉर अ पीरियड ऑफ 14 days. मतलब अगर किसी स्टेट का, फॉर एग्जांपल यूपी की बाउंड्री को चेंज करना है, एक नया स्टेट बनाना है यूपी से काट के, तो पार्लियामेंट कर सकता है ऐसा, बट for that they will have to send such bill पहले to the the state of UP for its consideration. But again, the Parliament of India is not bound by the consideration of the state of UP. If state of UP says that they do not want if the assembly of UP passes a resolution that they do not want the state boundaries to be changed, or they do not want the name of the state to be changed, the Parliament can still go ahead with the law. Go ahead with the bill to form a law. So that means Parliament is not bound by the advice of the state assembly. Okay, but it must send that bill for the consideration of that specific state assembly. Okay, but it is not bound. ठीक है. Okay, Article 2 and Article 3. These are very important articles. Now Article 4 comes into being. Okay. Now Article 4 comes into being. Article 4 says that laws made under Article 2 and 3 to provide for amendment of the four. Now very important, whenever a new state is added, ठीक है, तो whenever a new state is added, तो क्या basic changes दो होंगे constitution में. The first one is in the first schedule, and the second change will take place in fourth schedule. Okay, fourth schedule, ठीक है. First schedule में क्या change होगा? First schedule, what does the first schedule contain? The first schedule contains the names and the boundaries, basically the territory of the state. First schedule में अगर आप जाके देखोगे तो ये लिखा हुआ है असम, ठीक है, असम की बाउंड्री क्या होगी ये सब उसके बारे में लिखा हुआ है. फिर बिहार की बाउंड्री क्या होगी, उसकी टेरिटरी क्या होगी, ये सब लिखा हुआ है. तो अब कोई नया स्टेट जब बनेगा, ठीक है, whenever a new state is formed, तो इस स्टेट का नाम इसमें ऐड करना पड़ेगा इस शेड्यूल में. तो दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, तो दैट विल बी चेंज्ड एंड दिस शेड्यूल इज अ पार्ट ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया. ठीक है, दैट व्हाट फंडामेंटली मीन्स. ओके, सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट इज अबाउट द फोर्थ शेड्यूल. नाउ फोर्थ शेड्यूल क्या कंटेन करता है? इट कंटेन्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सीट्स, ओके, इन राज्यसभा. कि how many seats does every state have in राज्यसभा. लोकसभा के बारे में ऐसा क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि लोकसभा में जो सीट्स का जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है टू एवरी स्टेट, दैट इज डन बाय डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन. ओके, that is done by delimitation commission and it continuously changes after every census and we know it has been fixed to 2026 right now. इसीलिए लोकसभा की सीट्स का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पार्लियामेंट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में नहीं है, राज्यसभा की सीट्स का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन फोर्थ शेड्यूल में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में खुद मेंशन है. ओके, तो जब नया कोई स्टेट आएगा, व्हेन अ न्यू स्टेट इज एडेड, व्हाट विल हैपन? द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ सीट्स बेसिकली चेंजेस, राइट? क्योंकि या तो नई सीट्स ऐड होंगी या तो एग्जिस्टिंग सीट्स में से कुछ सीट्स बाकी स्टेट्स का रिड्यूस करके स्टेट को दे देंगे. इन दैट केस ऑल्सो, since fourth schedule is a part of the constitution of India and since first schedule is a part of constitution of India, a change in the constitution of India itself is taking place, right? A change in the constitution of India itself is taking place. ठीक है, that understood. Now read and supplement. Okay, ठीक है. No laws. Okay, this section says that कि अगर कोई भी ऐसा लॉ आता है आर्टिकल 2 या आर्टिकल 3 के अंदर जो कि नया स्टेट एस्टैब्लिश करता है, तो उस लॉ में ऐसे स्पेसिफिक डिटेल्स होने चाहिए जो कि फर्स्ट एंड फोर्थ शेड्यूल के बारे में हो एंड सप्लीमेंटल, इंसिडेंटल एंड कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल मैटर्स, और इसके रिलेटेड सारे मैटर्स के बारे में बात करते हो. ऐसे आर्टिकल्स उस लॉ में होने चाहिए जो लॉ एक नया स्टेट एस्टैब्लिश करता है. ओके, तो ये हो गया. सेकेंड इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट इज नो सच लॉ डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट कि such a law will be making changes into schedule 1 and schedule 4, no such law shall be deemed to an amendment to the constitution of India under article 368. Despite the fact कि such a law will be making changes to the constitution of India, it will not be deemed as a constitutional amendment under article 368. That means such a law does not need to pass through the rigorous process of article 368. A normal law can be, मतलब a constitutional amendment does not need to be enacted. A normal law can be enacted to form a new state. Very good. Understood. Okay. So this was very important to understand कि how this article 1, 2, 3 and 4. ठीक है. One important another point that I would like to point out. Now Sikkim, अब यहाँ पे तो है कि अगर नया स्टेट एडमिट करना है तो आपको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट की जरूरत नहीं है, तो फिर सिक्किम को एडमिट करते हो क्यों कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट की जरूरत पड़ी? या बांग्लादेश की लैंड बाउंड्री एग्रीमेंट साइन करते हो तो हमें क्यों कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट की जरूरत पड़ी? तो बांग्लादेश का लैंड बाउंड्री एग्रीमेंट साइन हुआ था 2015 में, फॉर द जनरल नॉलेज. एंड व्हेन सिक्किम वाज एडमिटेड इनटू द यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया, तो वहां पे वी डिड नॉट हैव द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एसोसिएट स्टेट. तो आर्टिकल 2A को ऐड करने के लिए, ठीक है, आर्टिकल 2A को ऐड करने के लिए एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट के थ्रू सिक्किम को ऐड किया एज एन एसोसिएट स्टेट, बिकॉज 2A was the new addition into the Constitution of India, and Article 368 says that. And Article 368, what Article 368 say that? Article 368 talks about the amendment to the Constitution of India. Article 368 talks about the amendment to the Constitution of India. ठीक है, amendment by the way of addition, repeal, abridgment, ठीक है, and so addition मतलब by addition of a new article, repeal by repealing some article, abridgment by making some article, that by changing the language of the article so that it gets smaller and all. मतलब अगर आपको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कोई चेंज करना है तो यू मस्ट गो थ्रू आर्टिकल 368. द प्रोसेस दैट हैज बीन मेंशन्ड, आर्टिकल 368 हैज अ प्रोसेस मेंशन्ड, ठीक है, स्पेशल मेजॉरिटी एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स, कि आर्टिकल 368 हैज अ स्पेशल प्रोसेस मेंशन्ड फॉर द अमेंडमेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया. ठीक है, ओके. एंड मतलब हाँ, सिक्किम, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सिक्किम. So while Sikkim was added, no constitutional amendment was needed if there was a no associate state. But what happened was Sikkim was added initially as an associate state. ठीक है, as an associate state. तो आर्टिकल 2A ऐड किया, राइट, 2A ऐड किया, ठीक है, ऐड मतलब यहाँ पे तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में आपने कुछ ऐड किया तो आपको 368 के थ्रू करना होगा, राइट. तो ये हो गया आर्टिकल 2A. एंड ऑल्सो आपने कौन सा ऐड किया, 10th शेड्यूल. अभी क्या शेड्यूल है, 10th शेड्यूल अभी इट डील्स विद व्हाट, डिफेक्शन, एंटी डिफेक्शन. ठीक है, तो 10th शेड्यूल ऐड किया. 10th शेड्यूल में क्या था कि सिक्किम और इंडिया के बीच में रिलेशनशिप कैसा रहेगा इसके बारे में बातचीत हुई थी, राइट. तो ये दो चीजें अगर आपको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में ऐड करनी थी तो आपको क्या करना पड़ा, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट करना पड़ा. तो ये हो गया 35th. तो हमने 36th क्यों किया, जब एसोसिएट स्टेटस का स्टेटस हटा दिया. तो व्हाट यू डिड वाज यू डिलीटेड दिस. तो अगर रिपील होगा या डिलीशन होगा, दैट विल आल्सो बी डन थ्रू द प्रोसेस ऑफ 368, दैट इज द अमेंडमेंट टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट के थ्रू ही हो सकता है. एंड दैट इज व्हाई बोथ ऑफ द टाइम्स हमें ये ऐसा करना पड़ा. ठीक है, ओके, राइट. तो आई होप यू अंडरस्टूड दिस. इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स इन द वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक, काइंडली आस्क मी. ठीक है.